China's insane house-building technology will change everything. As part of a program to build inexpensive housing, it was claimed in November 2019 that China has constructed 20,000 dwellings in 3 days in Africa. In this video, we'll tell you about China's incredible housing construction technology, which has transformed many aspects of life in Africa. How in the world would you ever try to build a single house in just 3 days? It is not polite to respond with, "That's crazy," or "It's not possible." However, China has perfected a bizarre home construction method that enables the construction of 20,000 homes in just 3 days. Will this provide a solution to the struggling housing market? In order to honor the accomplishment of constructing 20,000 homes in Africa in just 3 days and enabling the homeless to move into new residences as soon as possible, tens of thousands of Chinese citizens gathered. According to what we know, South Africa has just begun its first and largest large-scale urban project with this new city project. It will cost $300 million to build and will be situated on a plot of land measuring 497.22 hectares. Local Africans were taken aback by how swiftly China developed. But as far as we are aware, South Africa has the best economy in the entire globe. In actuality, the lack of housing in South Africa has a significant negative impact on the country's economy. Currently, Africa as a whole is making significant efforts to urbanize, with 472 million people residing in urban areas on the continent. Africa's cities and towns are already incredibly crowded. Why then is the lack of housing in South Africa such a major issue? There are over 60 million people residing in South Africa, which is the southernmost country in Africa. In reality, South Africa has the second largest economy in Africa behind Nigeria. The standard of living is greater in South Africa than it is in other parts of Africa, which was once a British colony. But there is still too much of a gap between the wealthy and the poor, and life is still quite difficult for people at the bottom of the social scale. There are still a lot of individuals living without homes in South Africa because they cannot afford to rent expensive properties. Despite the fact that 3 million homes have been built there since 1994, 14% of the population in South Africa is still homeless and living on the streets, according to statistics. From other cities, about 100,000 individuals relocate to Johannesburg annually. There aren't enough homes for infrastructure employees to reside in. Not even in Gauteng, South Africa's richest region. The reason for this is that the continent has a large population and is rapidly urbanizing, both of which have contributed to a serious housing scarcity. From the beginning, South Africa has been making an effort. The concept of a 3D printed home was first proposed in the UK in 2013. And South Africa's plan to use it to provide people with a safe place to live garnered a great deal of attention internationally. Even though 3D printed homes will be created more quickly, the cost is too exorbitant for most South Africans, especially low-income families who cannot generally afford it. Therefore, it must be constructed using conventional tools first, followed by Velcro. Low-income families are unable to pay any rent because of the newly constructed homes. South Africa is now in the unfortunate situation of having to construct more houses at this time because they have made the decision to enlist China's assistance in constructing houses so that everyone can live there. The prefabricated building technique is being used for the first time by a Chinese business to construct inexpensive housing in South Africa. As part of this agreement, South Africa and China want to construct 20,000 dwellings altogether. The model home was constructed in China in just 3 days. Building is expedited and costs are reduced because of this construction. Everyone will want to know what is inside and what the model house contains once it has been constructed. As soon as they got to see this incredible piece of art, the locals in the vicinity were unable to contain their joy. With a living room, bathroom, and 2 bedrooms, the model home is 40 square meters in size. Solar energy is another feature of the model home that can assist residents with excessive electricity usage. It's probable that while this style of home is rather common for many individuals, for certain South Africans, it's more of a villa. However, this home is big enough for a family to live comfortably without having to worry about the weather. It's still a wonderful area to live, despite the little size of the house. These houses are not only environmentally friendly and beneficial to the environment, but they are also significantly less expensive. Due to the affordability and peaceful living conditions of China's homes, it is considerably more difficult to conceal shock when hearing about them. As a result of using prefabricated buildings for this project, China was able to perform a miracle in just 3 days. When viewing the model home, a lot of South Africans gushed about how much they adored it. The success of a prefabricated building depends on using a prefabricated concrete wall panel structure system. At the Green Building Technology Park, all of the components required for the construction process are produced. All that is left to do is move the parts to the location where they will be assembled in 3 days once everything is prepared. In reality, the entire main body may be assembled in a single day. It can then be embellished and relocated. Right now, this technology is able to address any housing issue in South Africa. South Africans claim that China has also taught them how to exploit key technologies. The most significant action China can do to assist South Africa at this time is this. It's crucial to keep in mind that China offers assistance beyond simple surface-level construction. South Africa won't experience housing issues in the future by carrying out the necessary actions now. Since the construction of the house, how has local life changed? The local economy in South Africa has expanded as a result of China sending less technical management professionals when the homes were being built. The reason for this is that a person's means of support is what matters most in their lives. The majority of people concur that the majority of workers on this building project are South African, at least 95% of them. These specialists in the building sector are primarily concerned with fostering the expansion of the indigenous population of South Africa and advancing local building technologies. China seeks to enhance the amount of work opportunities in the area once the employment rate has increased. The South African economy is anticipated to rise gradually if this project is successfully completed. The local authority is also extremely appreciative of China for all of the assistance it has provided. South Africa wants to create a new metropolis with China as a result, and it wants to find novel methods to collaborate with China. The new metropolis will resemble an international community of people, South Africa has claimed in an effort to attract Chinese investors. So, what exactly is this initiative about? A new city that would span 1,600 hectares of land will be the next South African urban development, according to the majority of people. In this new metropolis, residential neighborhoods will expand alongside business zones. For no more than 100,000 individuals, it also contains the extra amenities people require to ensure they have a safe place to live. The Shanghai-based Endai firm of China expects the project to take 15 years to complete and will invest $8 billion in it. This demonstrates the strengthening of the ties between China and South Africa. Due to two factors, South Africa is now prepared to cooperate with China more. The first justification is that China is a major player in infrastructure development. The fact that China is currently investing heavily in its infrastructure has been acknowledged by South Africa. Second, because China plays a significant role in global collaboration. Both nations' membership in the BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa, and the China-Africa Cooperation Forum strengthens their bilateral relations on a number of fronts. China's top trading partner in Africa is South Africa, and China is South Africa's biggest commercial partner globally. The two nations have invested and formed cooperative ventures in many different industries, including infrastructure, energy, and mining. Additionally, China has given South Africa loans and subsidies for construction projects. However, the relationship is not without challenges, as South Africa has expressed concerns about the trade imbalance and the impact of Chinese investment on its own industries. Additionally, some South Africans have raised concerns about the influence of China on their politics and economy. But, however, China has clearly become the best partner, so it's likely that China and African countries will need trade at this time. China is currently engaged in 35 different African nations' infrastructure projects. There are several construction sites in Angola, Nigeria, and Sudan, among other nations. China, however, has fresh plans for numerous international projects, particularly in the DRC. With the information and communications technology (ICT) industry coming in a distant third, mostly equipment supply, its economy has been split rather evenly between the two primary sectors of transportation and electricity generation, particularly hydropower. Water projects received noticeably less attention. A small sign outside Nairobi, Kenya that reads China Road points to the Great Wall Apartments, a brand new housing development that resembles the concrete structures you'd see in any Chinese metropolis. Roads, subways, skyscrapers, and even entire cities are being built in Africa by Chinese developers. A photo series examining the effects of China on 7 significant African cities has been made public by the Go West Project, a think organization focused on creating megacities. The Go West Project is being worked on by urban strategist Michael Hulshoff from the Netherlands and architect Dan Roggeveen from Shanghai. We know the Chinese urban model, and we also know that China is trying to export that model to other areas of the world, says Hulshoff. To that end, Africa is remarkable. China's impact extends beyond its physical infrastructure. The state-run China Daily newspaper and CCTV television station are now accessible in a number of African cities. Some regions have Chinese language schools, and the Chinese government provides scholarships to deserving African students who will pursue their studies in China. Cell phones and bicycles made in China are available in African markets. Although not as quick as the growth of China's megacities, progress is swift. 6 of the 50 industrial zones that were originally planned 9 years ago have actually been built. Developers struggle to adapt to the vast cultural and political diversity found in Africa. According to Hulshoff, the main issue from China's perspective is corruption in African nations. Another issue is that democracy makes it difficult to develop in the top-down manner that Chinese firms prefer. People who have a legal claim to their property cannot be forcibly removed. Researchers discovered that, at least for the time being, the individuals they spoke with in Africa were mostly positive about the developments, despite some criticizing the speed and scope of Chinese influence. Hillary Clinton has referred to it as new colonialism and calling it new colonialism. Hulshoff cautions that the conclusion of this scenario cannot be predicted at this time. But the subject is interesting. The number of Chinese participants, both public and private, has been rapidly increasing since the turn of the century across the whole continent of Africa and in a wide range of industries. By appealing to the expanding economic and political influence of the continent, China can use the diplomatic connections to sway Africa's vote on divisive UN issues like Taiwan and the South China Sea. Can China, however, hope to profit from these investments? It is critical to determine whether or not the assumptions they are based on are true. The majority of Chinese corporations' investments in the energy industry, with an emphasis on Nigeria and Angola, are attributable to commercial entities. This suggests that China is using government-funded energy infrastructure projects to establish Chinese corporate dominance over African energy businesses, possibly to the cost of their African partners. However, Kenya's railway project serves all of society, rather than just one industry. Beijing's construction initiatives in Africa should ultimately be decided by African countries based on whose interests will be served. That's all. Thank you for watching. If you want to see more videos like this, press the bell icon and do not forget to like and subscribe.